How cute are those baby impala? And there's some blue sky, much better than this morning. And welcome again, everyone. I'm Noelle, and on camera we have the wildebeest. Hello, Viam. All right, I want to welcome Glenwood, Sutherland, and Rice Creek Elementaries. Hello, students. I hope you enjoy your time with us this afternoon. I believe you're doing life sciences, migration, habitats, and animals this afternoon, and I hope we can help you with any questions you have. Remember, we are live, we are interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, or you can ask us questions on the YouTube chat. All right, Vildi, those cute little impalas. Let's have another look. So it is the season, I should say. 'Tis the season for cute little babies. So Vildi's showing you some adults there, and then there's a little baby just in front. Grooming itself. Mum came to check it out. They have teeth in their lower jaw that are slightly movable. So when they groom themselves or groom each other, which is known as allo grooming, there we go, their teeth move and it works like a comb to help take out hair and any sort of parasites that might be there. Now, one of the ways that you can tell this is a baby is, we saw some adults before, but then if you just saw this little one, you would see, look how big those ears are in comparison to the head. It hasn't quite grown into itself yet. Tiny little spindly legs. And yes, the uber cuteness. Right, so impala is one of our antelope species that we see the most often. They're around every corner, but they are one of our most beautiful antelope species as well. I particularly love baby impala because they're tiny little miniatures of the adult. Now, the first, Vildi, I don't know, can we still see that young male? Oh, of course he puts his head down as I say that. We had a young male, there's his bum. When he picks up his head, you're going to see his little horns. So the males with the impalas grow horns. The females have no horns. So the male that's there's his tiny little horns. His horns will get much bigger than that. He's probably only about a year, maybe 2 years old. And the little babies we were showing you now, they have not quite started to grow their horns. So if any of you are coming from North America or Northern Europe or north of sub-Saharan Africa, you will get deer species that have antlers that shed and regrow every year. Our antelope south of the Sahara, so in the sub-Saharan area, have horns that grow once in a lifetime. So we don't have any deer in sub-Saharan Africa except for the feral deer that people have brought over. And feral deer are basically, when you use the word feral, it's either something that was domesticated that then was let free to become quote-unquote wild, or was brought over from somewhere else, say Europe, for instance, with some of the deer, and then sort of let free into an area that is not their own. All right, now my friend Ralph is on the other side of Djuma. He's got another antelope species he'd like to show you, so let's head on over to him.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the other vehicle out on drive in the Kruger National Park. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and we have Sebastian on the camera. Thanks for that thumbs up, Sebastian. Welcome to all the schools that are joining us. It's quite a coolish afternoon. It's around 20 degrees centigrade and around a mid 60 degrees Fahrenheit. With the idea this afternoon, my thinking is that we're going to drive around and we're going to look for animals that are doing their thing, their ecology, their behavior, and we're going to try and bring in those topics for the school's sake. But it's great because everybody's been out looking for the big cats, looking for the big animals. Nobody's been able to find any of that. So I like that kind of situation because that gives us an opportunity to move slowly through for any kind of little signs that whether it's big animals, whether it's small animals, but I like to concentrate on the small stuff. And as I say, today we're going to concentrate on ecology and a little bit on behavior. Right, I hear that we're losing signal a little bit, so we're going to go back to Noelle and I'm going to try find some better signal for you.
So sorry about that, Ralph. So everyone, don't forget we are live. So sometimes we hit little dips and valleys, and the signal that we use to get to our camera so that you can see us doing what we're doing and interact with us disappears. We call them Gremlins, for those of you that don't know. So sorry, Ralph, the Gremlins have decided to attack you a little bit this afternoon. And with this crazy overcast weather that we're having the past couple days, it sometimes affects our signal every now and then. But we should be good. I am going to go and check, well, I should say Vildy and I are going to go and check the dam. What do you see, Vildy? Ah, Vildy found wildebeest. Very funny. I'm laughing at myself today. I'm sorry, this morning was so cold and so wet, and right now it's much warmer and it's not raining, so I'm I'm in a very giggly mood. So excuse my giggles, but yes, and I promise no more bad jokes and no more bad puns. So there's another antelope species for us, the wildebeest. In Afrikaans, it's a blauw wildebeest, or in English, a blue wildebeest, also known as a brindled gnu. There you can see the brindling on the side there, the stripes. So now we spoke earlier and we said female impala have no horns and male impalas do. Well, with the wildebeest, both males and females have horns. So kiddos, don't forget, you can ask us questions. I would be wondering to myself if you all had any thoughts as to why male and female wildebeest have horns. So I'm going to keep talking about wildebeest, but you all think about it and then send us some questions through from your teacher, and we can have a little chat about that. All right, and then notice as well, their heads are positioned quite far down. Some of them are looking quite fat, as most of these females are going to be pregnant. They're going to have their babies, oh my goodness, it's almost December. They'll have their babies in a few weeks, sort of mid-December to mid-January. They have Christmas and New Year babies, for those of you that celebrate those holidays. And then also, like impala, they work in a herd structure. So lots of females and the young together. And then with the wildebeest in particular, you'll have a male that will be in charge of his herd and his territory. Now that's a little bit different than up in the Masai Mara. Up in the Masai Mara and in the Serengeti, so that's in East Africa, it's about, if I remember correctly, sort of, I think we said, is it 3,000 kilometers or miles, Vildy, up to the Mara? I will remember just now. Sorry, guys. Maybe one of you can double check and let me know. They follow the rains in a somewhat circular pattern. So they're not stationary like ours are here and sort of staying put in territories. The males are keeping track of their females within these really large movements. So I know some of your classrooms are talking about migrations. That migration up there is known as the Great Migration. And the wildebeest that join that are a white bearded gnu, which look almost exactly the same as this one, except they have a white beard. So it's a cousin of this wildebeest. A subspecies, if any of you are going into taxonomy at all. All right, so guys, don't forget, we are interactive, so send your questions through. I'd love to know some of your answers. Rice Creek Elementary, you're curious about what do the wildebeest eat. So we talked earlier about the head being positioned down, that long neck, and then they've got a very wide mouth. They're a grazer, they eat grass, and they're a bulk grazer. So anything with a big wide mouth like that, like a cow, I don't know if any of you have cows near where you live, a cow is a bulk grazer as well. Those impala that we saw earlier, oh, there's one peeking out from behind that wildebeest. They eat grass and leaves. They've got a tinier mouth, and they're very capable of reaching higher up and lower down. And they've got tiny little mouths to be able to help take the leaves off. So that's one way to tell the difference. Ava, you're curious if the wildebeest horns fall off as the seasons change. So Ava, I'm going to guess that where you live you have deer. So those deer have antlers and they fall off with the season. Our antelope that we have here have horns that just grow once. So if they break off, they won't fall off, but if they break off, that's it. They don't grow again. That female is looking very pregnant. Very, very pregnant. So you see what we're talking about with that way the neck goes and the head comes down? Connor, good question. You're asking how many wildebeest can a baby have? I'm so sorry, Connor. How many babies does a wildebeest have? Just one at a time, Connor. So impala, wildebeest, the Nyala you saw with Ralph, it's all one baby. Even elephants and giraffe, it's one baby, and rhinos and buffalo. Although now that I mention elephant and giraffe, every now and then they'll have twins, but it's very, very, very rare. It's hard for any species out here that is an edible species, a prey species, something that lion would eat, for instance. It's hard for them to have more than one baby. Now, a lion will have multiple babies because it takes a lot to grow those little cubs up, a lot of effort, and so the more they have, the more likely to survive. Whereas with these animals, like the wildebeest, they'll have one baby, but they live in a herd, and so all the mums help take care of all the babies. They don't nurse all the different babies; they only nurse their own. But having many babies all together means that predators will get one here and one there, but it's very hard for them to take out all of them at once. So guys, I just have to mention that pole that we saw. Our roof is on because the rain is on and off, so just excuse it every now and then. So I believe the question was, how long do wildebeest live, Kirst, if I heard you correct? From Paris. Paris, you're curious about how long do wildebeest live. Wildebeest will live about 8 to 10 years, I would guesstimate, right around there. They're a larger wildebeest. That one's staring at us, trying to figure out why we're sitting here for so long. Oh, and having a wee. Well, that's rather rude. Don't stare at us while you're having a wee, silly wildebeest. All right, let's head over to the dam. They look like they're heading down that way, and we will see maybe if anything else is drinking while we wait for them there. Everyone, your questions are fantastic. Keep them coming, keep them coming. I'd be interested to know where all of your schools are situated, in what country are you, and if you are in the States, what state you are in. And if any of you have ever traveled maybe overseas to Africa, or been here before, or are hoping to maybe come over. Erwin, you're curious about how fast the wildebeest run. Now, I'm going to say that they probably get up to about 25 kilometers, well, let's put a little bit more, 35 kilometers an hour, so that's going to be something like, off the top of my head, so sorry, something like 15 miles per hour, maybe right around in there, maybe a titch more. I can triple check my math on my calculator just now. Vildy, there's nothing at the dam. There's some impala on the other side. So because it was a cold day, oh, there's a giant terrapin. You see Vildy on the right-hand side of the bank. And then to the left, there he is. So everyone, that is a terrapin. Some of you might know it as a snapping turtle, but for technical terms' sake, turtles live in the ocean. Turtles live in the ocean, tortoises live on land, and terrapins live in fresh water like this pan. Now, my friend Brent is up in the Masai Mara, and he has some furry creatures he would like to show you. So I think while we're busy looking around, let's travel up north to him. Goodness, the gremlins are everywhere today, everywhere. So sorry about that, guys. We will get up to Brent at some point with his special furry creature, but you're stuck with me for now, if that's okay. So we were talking about turtles, terrapins, and tortoises. So a tortoise, again, as I said, will live on land, and it is a vegetarian. It eats grass and plants. And then this terrapin that's there lives inside this fresh water, and he can climb out onto the ground and move to different freshwater bodies. If any of you live sort of near the East Coast, or I would actually say east of the Mississippi in the States, I believe you get snapping turtles, painted snapping turtles, I think they're called. So the turtle is an odd term. It should be a terrapin. So Glenwood and Sutherland, you are from Virginia, and I believe, Kirst, you said Rice Creek is from North or South Carolina? South Carolina. All very beautiful places. You all definitely have snapping turtles. But now that you know the correct term for them, they're terrapins. And north of Virginia, you've got Maryland. And I think one of the universities in Maryland, their mascot is, in fact, a terrapin. So a terrapin has web on its feet and then little claws so that it can move around. A tortoise has sort of sturdy feet with just little claws, and then a turtle has flippers to be able to move through the ocean. And turtles are specialized feeders. They eat things like octopus, squid, and fish, depending on what species of turtle it is. Now, if you're in Virginia and you're in South Carolina, I believe you've got oceans on your eastern side there, and you might just see some sea turtles come up during the summer months, or maybe the winter months. I know in Florida they definitely do. Okay, Brent, his gremlins have left. Let's head back up to him, all the way up to East Africa, to Kenya, to the Masai Mara, and see what he has in store for us.
Well, welcome to a beautiful sunshiny day here in the Masai Mara. We are with the Olololo Pride live from the northern sections of the Mara Triangle. Now, they're in a bit of long grass and they're resting. It looks like they've got quite big bellies, the cubs at least. There are 4 cubs, 3 adult females. But at the moment, you can just see tails and feet in the air. But of course, you never know what's going to happen on a live broadcast. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have Archie on camera. And what a beautiful evening it is. Hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us or the others down south in South Africa. So I think we're going to play the patience game. So the cubs look quite well fed. The females don't. They are getting up and moving every now and then. There we go. Cubs up. And down again. There we go, talking to one of the adult females. I can't see whether it's mom or not. Oh, there could be some more cubs there. As I said, they're looking quite well fed. It looks like they might be trying to sneak a suckle on mom. But mom doesn't look too impressed. Every time they do, she keeps getting up and moving away. Now remember, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. And you can see how lovely and luscious it is. Green and beautiful. Now this is the first afternoon in quite a while we haven't had a big thunderstorm. So it's wonderful to be out without the threat of rain. You can see the ears and tails flicking incessantly to try and make sure those little biting stable flies don't draw too much blood. Little vampires. Oh, that female looks a lot more well fed than the other. Obviously they might have caught something this morning, but something not too big. Here we go. We're going to have, I think, a very typical lion flop shortly. And flop. You can see her bulging belly, and she's breathing very heavily, trying to digest or whatever she might have eaten. Oh, there's a cub up on its way in. Oh, no, the cub went down again. It took 2 steps and went flat in the grass. It is very still down here on the Mara floor this afternoon. Not even a breath of wind. Well, there we go. Up and at him. I think that they might move towards the shade and possibly back towards us. We're under a big tree just to try get away from all the biting flies. So even though the sun is out and it's bright, it's not too hot. Hello, Santiago. Santiago would like to know, how fast do lions run? Well, Santiago, faster than you. But of course, I'm just joking. Their top speed is about 20 meters per second, and they don't run for very, very far. So they like to get right in there and close. Oh, cubs up. They like to get very close to their prey before they pounce, but they are capable of about 20 meters per second, and they can keep that up for a good 3 or 4 seconds. And so generally they prefer their prey to be within 20 meters, so they don't have to run too far. They're inherently lazy beasts, and that's how they're designed. And they have a big problem dealing with heat. So what they do is tend to spend most of the warm hours of the day resting like they're doing at the moment, and as it gets cooler they'll get up and get on the hunt. However, they are opportunists, so if some poor unsuspecting warthog or zebra happen to trundle towards them, they would definitely make an attempt to catch it, even if they were full-bellied. The lions are capable of eating incredibly rotten meat. Now you can see that's a very fat lioness. So only one hungry lioness out of the three. Look at her. She looks very comfortable, putting the leg all the way out in the air. So I wonder what they caught earlier today, or even possibly last night, that has kept them so full. Now, if we look in the distance between the gap in the trees there, Archie, you'll see around there we go. There we go. You can see there's some zebra and Thompson's gazelle in the distance. Of course, at this time of the day, that far away, they are quite safe. Hello, Daniel. Daniel's wondering, are the lions endangered? Daniel, lions are endangered in certain parts of Africa. In this area, they are not endangered, and in South Africa, where the other guys are, they're also not endangered. But they have lost a lot of their home ranges outside of the protected reserves. So there is threats towards lions, but they are currently not endangered, but they are threatened. Let's have a look at the lions again. There we go. You can just see tails and feet. Breathing heavily. I'm going to sit here for a little bit longer, see if they get up and get on the move. With fat, full bellies like that, they might head towards the little stream close by for a drink. But while we do that, let's send you all the way back to South Africa to see what Ralph is up to.
Welcome back, folks. I'm saying welcome back because I know a little bit earlier we lost the signal, so I just want to remind you to please join us on Twitter, #Safari Live, and on YouTube with the live chat. Now, we've just been driving along down the road. We've been going slowly, just so that we can pick up on the sounds and see if we can find any tracks. It's really exciting for me to do it nice and slowly, because that's when you really pick up on the interesting things. So there's something in front here that I just want Seb just to move forward on. Now, for the kids out there, this might just look like a big pile of grass or a big pile of poo. It is exactly that. It's a big pile of poo, but the animal that we're talking about here, if you go in nice and close there, you can see there's a lot of grass pieces in there, and it's obvious that the animal that is using this site is returning every day or on a very regular basis. It's nice and wet in some parts, it's very dry in others. And this would be part of a territorial movement of a very big animal. And this very big animal has got two big lovely horns on him. Now, please, kids, please send in your questions and your comments. Let's hear it. Do you know what animal would be territorial, that has horns and would move around and defecate in a similar spot on a regular basis? Okay, let's get those answers coming in, and maybe we can have a little bit of a discussion about that animal. And he likes to use that spot on a regular basis. It's quite interesting, the animals that like to do that kind of thing. It's generally your territorial animals coming back to the same spot, using the same area to defecate in. We also call that a midden site. So, and that is used for a particular reason between males and females and between the structural part of the groups as well. So, as we move along down the road, what we are looking for, and this is something else that we have just spotted in front of us. It's not absolutely fresh, this sign on the road. If Seb can just go in a little bit closer there. Those two scratch marks are from the same animal. That's from the same animal. Rice Creek saying, Rice Creek saying buffalo or elephant. It is quite similar size-wise to buffalo and a little bit smaller than an elephant. But we did have somebody else there. I didn't quite hear the name, but somebody got the answer. William, you were absolutely spot on. The answer is a rhino, and this one in particular being a white rhino. Now he will be walking around in this area, and he will move in the same area normally because he's territorial, and he'll be marking his territory using both those scrape marks like that and also that midden sight. So that is his way of saying this is my area, and he's warning off all those bigger males not to come and mess with his territory. Okay, so as we continue down the road, as we've spotted those two kinds of signs, that is leading us to believe that there's big animals in the area, of which there is. Now we're also listening out for any sounds of big animals, and that would be like for elephants it would be branches breaking, or any kind of the little rumbling sounds that we hear from elephants, who use that very low pitch rumble. Okay, but difficult to hear if we're driving a vehicle around, and especially if we're going fast. So those are the kind of little sounds that we need to tune our ears in as we're moving around. And we also, if we want to pick up on some predators, then we want to be listening for the alarm calls of the other animals. Birds are a major one that will lead us in the direction of predators, because they will start to alarm call, and they sitting up nice and high in the trees, so they have a good vantage point to be able to spot them, and they immediately indicate to us. So birds would be calling. We'd also be listening out for squirrels also being up nice and high. What else is up nice and high? Monkeys, baboons, and they've got excellent eyesight. So they would be alarm calling, and we're listening out for that. Some of the animals that are on the ground that we would listen out for as well as the antelope. So those are the noises that we'd be listening out for. A couple of the smells that we would be trying to pick up on. The one in particular that everybody loves is the smell of popcorn. You know, when you go to the movies and you get a nice big box of popcorn and they put some fresh butter on it and it melts, that smell of popcorn with the butter on it is an excellent indicator of leopard. So that is a smell that we'll be trying to pick up. Ava, question coming in from Ava: how many times have I seen an elephant? Ava, I've lost count how many times I've seen an elephant. I've seen elephants in many different game reserves. I've probably seen over, I would say, 5,000, if I have to say that. In the greater Kruger National Park area, there's more than 13,000 elephants, and I've probably seen a good few of those. But in the different game reserves that I've moved around, I've seen very many elephants in the time that I've been guiding. In my short 18 years as a guide, I've seen quite a lot of animals that walk around with those big trunks. Okay, here in front we've just got a little pan. It's a fantastic site for any of the animals that might have just moved through to come and have a drink. That water doesn't look fantastic for us, but for the bigger animals it would be a lovely sight. However, it has been raining, so it's not an amazing time for the animals to be stopping at all these bigger water holes. Okay, because there's a lot of water around, we're not particularly seeing them at these bigger water holes. They can pick up water wherever they like. Right, so I'm going to continue along down the road looking. In the meantime, let's cross to Noelle and see what she has found.
Hello, I have some driving I'm doing. A little birdie told me in my ear that there may or may not be some elephants up ahead, so I am heading in that direction to see if possibly I can show them to you. So it's going to take me a minute or two to get there, and if I pick up any tracks or signs along the way, I'll definitely show you. Logan, are you curious about what kind of birds live in our trees and do they make any noises? Are you asking about insects that live in our trees and do they make any noises? Sorry, so Logan, I've got Kirst, who's in our control room, who talks in my ear. And sometimes, just sometimes, because I'm an old lady, I mishear her. So Logan, we do have insects that live in trees, and some of them do make noises. We have cicadas and crickets that will make noises. Trying to think sort of what other type of tree-dwelling insects we have that would make a noise, but those are just the two that I can think of now. And they don't necessarily live in the trees, but they definitely live on the trees. And especially now in our summer, because it's our summer here and it's going to be your winter where you are. In our summer we get a lot of cricket and cicada noises. Not as much today, as today is very cold, but when it gets a little bit more warm, we will definitely start hearing them. That is for sure. Good question, Logan. And then yes, we also have tree-dwelling birds, and they also make some beautiful noises as well. I'll see if on our way to our elephants I can pick up any for you that want to sit still long enough. We had a cuckoo earlier, didn't want to show itself. Now Ralph is across the way and he has found something for you. Let's head over to him while I look for these elephants.
Right, as we were driving through, we just spotted something moving through the thickets, and we saw those lovely big horns there. And this is of a nice big bull waterbuck. So you can see the beautiful markings on him. He's unmistakable. He's got quite long hair for an African mammal. You can see there, and that's for a particular reason as well, because as the name suggests, he likes to be in the water, and they spend a lot of time near to the water, in the water, grazing in the area. I'm going to move forward a little bit and see if we can get a better view of him. And of course those fantastic horns that he's got. That is unmistakably a lovely big bull waterbuck. So look at him. He's also always careful as he's going along, as all the antelope are. They need to be on their toes all the time because they have been surviving through the years by being on their toes, especially for predators. Lions and leopard will always take their chance, but there are still lots of waterbuck around, so it means that they have survived through being absolutely aware of their surroundings. And with those horns, they can use that for defense against predators, and it's also for dominance between males. So fantastic markings there, and that nice lovely white ring on the bum. See him wagging his tail a little bit. That's generally to keep the flies away. He's not happy per se. He might be quite happy, but the use of that is to keep the insects and parasites away from his rear end. Right, so that nice thick coat, keeping them nice and warm when it's wet in the times that we've had now. And he's just meandering through. So quite often with the antelope we can find males on their own. Generally the females move in groups, and the females, they will be with the babies, male and female. And what's quite particular about waterbuck is they can actually drop their babies in a creche. Now sorry for that pole that's just showing up in the corner there. That's because we're still worried about the rain. It hasn't quite left us yet. And there Seb's just got that pole in the way. And you could see as he walked through the thicket there, he has to drop his horns back so that he can move through. Aya, a question coming from Aya. That's a very good question. Why are there stripes on the horns? It's actually the twisting that is going on the horns. It's like ridges that are on the horns as they go up, and it is actually to do with the spiraling part of it. But it's as those horns grow, they get a thick base, and then it thins out a little bit and it grows up. Now remember that horns are very similar to what we have on our nails. It is keratin, and it's the same as our hair, same as our nails, so very similar composition. And that's also similar to the rhino horns, which is also keratin, very similar to hair and nails. And that, so if a horn breaks, it will continue to grow. It won't form the perfect form that it did have, but it will continue to grow. So it's not sore for the animal, unlike that of antlers, which fall off. These stay here. Logan, good question from Logan. Do the males fight each other? Yes, they do, Logan. Now we've just picked up again over there. We can still see him again. The males will fight with each other to establish dominance, and that's one of the big reasons of those horns that he's got, is to fight other males. Now they'll lock horns and push each other around, and obviously the loser will be the one that gets pushed back more than the other, or sometimes can even be killed. If he can push the other male's side on, he will stab him in the side if he can do that. But I'm going to continue along the road here once again, look to see what we can find. But I think Noel has some of those big animals to show you that I was looking for.
We have some elephants, yay! Thanks to our wonderful tracker, Herbie. Yesterday afternoon, Herbie and I were trying to find Tundi, and one of our leopards, and he's determined to find her this afternoon. And on his search, he bumped into these elephants and gave me a shout, and so I'm here to show them to you. So we have savanna elephants. The other type of elephant that you would find in Africa would be the forest elephants that are up in sort of Congo area. Different species. A different type of elephant that you would find would be the desert elephant in Namibia, but it's just an adapted version of the elephant that we're looking at here. And then across the world, the other type of elephant in India would be the Indian elephant. Sorry, Curse, Devin was asking. Ooh, Devin, good question. How do they eat? Devin, can you see what they're doing with their trunks there? This is one of the ways that they eat. Their trunk has many, many, many muscles in it, and they're very dexterous, meaning that they are able to move their trunks in all sorts of different ways. And so they're looping it around the grass, the fresh green grass that's popped up since the rain, and are putting it in their mouth. Now, if we look just in front of us here, we have another little elephant who's part of this herd. I'm so sorry about the antenna there, everybody. That is so that we can speak to one another. He is busy also with the grass, but every now and then he's lifting up this branch. So they'll also use their trunks to rip off branches to then eat the branch, or using the tip of their trunk that's got two little fingers that acts like, well, they act like fingers, sorry, two little points that act like fingers. I think maybe let's have a look here at this little one, because I think we're going to get the best view there. And with those two little fingers, they can pick up fruits off the ground. They can also pick leaves off the trees. There we go. You see how adept they are at that. So elephants have 2 arms and 2 legs, but they don't have any hands per se like we do, because their hand bones are inside of their sort of cartilage cavities, so inside the thick skin there. So they have to use their trunk like an arm and a hand. But it's also a nose, and that's also what they suck water up through. They suck the water up, and they don't swallow it through their whole nose, but they suck it up and then spray it into their mouth. So that trunk is very, very versatile. Talia, you're curious about how old this baby elephant is here. I would say that this baby elephant is about 2 years old. If we go from this baby here and then just go a little bit right, you'll see the mum that's there. Okay, so we size babies in comparison to the mum. So Talia, if you have very tall parents, you'll most likely be tall. If your parents are short, you'll most likely be short. And that's all genetics. It's the same with elephants. Ava, you're curious if elephants are super protective of the babies. They are indeed super protective, just like your parents would be protective of you or anyone in your family at all. I come from a very large family. I have lots of sisters and brothers and cousins and aunties and uncles, and oh my goodness, it's ginormous. And they're all very, very protective, and it's the same with elephants. They work in an extended family system called a herd, a matriarchal herd. And by matriarch, we mean that there's a female and she's in charge. So this big female that we were just showing to you now, the mum of that little one, she's in charge. And whenever anything threatens her little ones, they trumpet and they stomp. What is this little one doing, Vildy? Did you guys see? He's found an old aardvark burrow, and he's busy half inside trying to get this vegetation out. I'm sorry, baby elephants are hysterical. Look at that. He's found a root system that he wants to eat. And to do and now he's pushing up with his face. So his tush haven't come out yet. So one of the reasons why I also say that he's 2 years old, just a little bit older, is at 3 years old you'll start to see their second set of tush come out. We can't see it here. So he's busy using his face in the soft sand. If he had tush, he would use his tush to dig it up. I'm sorry, everyone. How hysterical is this? Baby elephants are the best. Oh, he's trying so hard. Vildy, how are you not laughing? Vildy has the biggest smile on his face right now. Oh, so kids, elephants are silly, like we are. I'm convinced that they have a sense of humor. Look, animals don't necessarily have emotions like we as humans have emotion, but they do have personalities. And you all know what a personality is. You might know someone that is very loud or very quiet or a jokester or very sincere and caring. It goes on down the line. And elephants have a personality, cats have a personality, and young elephants like this are just extremely cheeky. And as you can tell by my laugh, just hysterical. So it takes him about 2 years to learn how to use those muscles in that trunk. And then his whole life he'll use to develop. So some of the behavior that he's doing now is he's obviously able to use his trunk very well. We saw him eating before. But before he was able to use his trunk, he would face plant into things to eat. Charlie, you're wondering if elephants travel in groups. They do when they're in... Kylie, excuse me, sweetie. Kylie, you're wondering if elephants travel in groups. They do when they're in the breeding herds, but the males, when they're about 15 to 18, they get kicked out of the breeding herds and then are sometimes by themselves and sometimes with other males. So it just depends. I think this little one's also doing a bit of what we call geophagy. So geophagy is eating dirt. He's just found a little treasure trove. Faraz, you're wondering why elephants are so wrinkly. That's a very good question. The texture on their skin and the wrinkles probably has something to do with their ability to... Sorry. And then he finds a stick. Why are they so wrinkly? My guess for that would be that it has to do with sort of body temperature, or possibly being able to keep mud or sand on them when they cool themselves down. But for us, that's just a guess. Sometimes things just are the way that they are. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about why elephants have wrinkly skin. Rhinos have relatively smooth skin. That's a very good question. Well, Glenwood, Sutherland, and Rice Creek Elementary, thank you so much for joining us for this afternoon. You guys had amazing questions as always. Please join us again. And when we say goodbye to you all, we are going to head up to Jamie, who wants to say hello from the Masai Mara. So let's go up to her. We'll stick with the elephants and hopefully see you again in a little bit.
Your driving start. You can't start like this. Hello and welcome to the Mara portion of this sunset safari. I do apologize for the late start. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Jahawi is on camera with me, and the reason I was telling Jahawi that he can't start like this, well, will become apparent in a few moments, because in actual fact we're looking at 17 lions. We just can't see one of them. So I was trying to find us a better position, and unfortunately it went slightly awry. And what I thought was a better position turned out to be an even worse position. So I'm going to try that all again. And unfortunately where they are, I can't even avoid our vehicle's shadow. Which isn't a disaster, it's just one of those things that's present. So don't forget, for our regular viewers, that you can send through your questions on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Ah, I can see a lion on a termite mound. Oh no, it's got flopped. There we go. Let's stop right there. So, we have found the Angama pride of lions, and as I said, 17 of them. 4 lionesses and 13 cubs. So the grassland that you're looking at is hiding 17 lions. Just as a little reminder as to, once the grass grows, as it does, and once it reaches its full height, just how difficult it's going to be to find the lions that are hiding right under our noses. In fact, I think there's a good chance I would have missed them if I'd driven past without seeing the other vehicle and without seeing the flash of a tail and the flick of an ear. They are so well hidden. It's hard to believe this is the same place we were driving around a few weeks ago when there was no grass here. Nothing. It had been completely mowed by the wildebeest that had come through just a few weeks prior. Now the grass is, I would say, in places almost a meter high, not quite, just under a meter, under 3 feet high. It'll be interesting to track its progress. It's going to make our lives slightly more difficult, but that's okay. We'll still find things. Now, yesterday on the Sunset Safari, we had the Angama Pride supposedly digging up a warthog. That's what one of the guides told me they were trying for. And unfortunately, we had to leave as it was getting dark. It was in a non-off-roading area, and we had to go racing back to make the gate. And we don't know what happened, whether or not they caught the warthog. Looking back at that sighting, I doubt it. I don't think they were committed enough to the cause. I don't think that they were going to catch it and dig it out. But I don't know that for absolute certain. I can tell you it's the furthest I've ever seen the Angama Pride in the direction of the Samaki Swamp. It certainly came as a surprise. Interestingly enough, as the world works this way, Jahawi and I were in this exact spot the last time we saw the Angama Pride. Well, almost this exact spot. And they were hunting crowned cranes as the evening drew to a close. I wonder what these cubs have planned for us tonight. Interesting question from Lady Starfire, something I've spoken about before in the past. So Lady Starfire's question is, if a female is unable to reproduce, will the pride reject her? Funnily enough, I've seen something like that happen, but I don't think it's all that common. So I think under natural circumstances, most of the time, the pride bond will be strong enough to keep the pride together. In the case that I'm thinking of, it was an artificial situation. Closed system, where essentially if you have too many lions, you do tremendous damage to, so by closed system I mean there's a fence. There's a fence around a relatively small reserve, which in South Africa, the small privately owned reserves form an enormous part of the conservation of the animals as a whole. Now within that, the smaller the area of the land, the more you have to manage the animals. In this particular case, it was an attempt to control the lion population, which was just booming, to the detriment of the cheetah population, leopard, hyena, and in fact general game population as well. So what they tried to do was they tried to contracept one of the females, and I can't remember the name of the contraception they used. I'm desperately trying to remember, but I actually can't. But they used a contraception that obviously stopped this female from falling pregnant, and the males seemed to figure it out, whether it was some kind of hormonal difference within her, whatever it was. They started to leave her alone. The females, it was never an immediate thing, but they pushed her more and more to the outskirts until she left the pride eventually. She went on, because she disappeared, so it was very hard to find her again and re-administer the contraceptive. She went on to fall pregnant because it wore off, and she had cubs, but she never ever rejoined her original pride. Now, one of those interesting situations, I'm not sure that counts as, first of all, it was a once-off, and second of all, it was an artificial situation, but it is something that I saw happen. I don't quite know why it was that she was rejected and pushed out in the way that she was, when her mother, Midget, her mother moved away during a male coalition takeover, because she had 2 young males, and she stayed away from her pride for about 2.5 years, and then returned once her boys were independent. She returned back to her pride, and it was an interesting situation. She was 14 years old. And as always, hello to Lily, who is 6 years old. Now, Lily's been watching for a while now and is very, very astute. She knows exactly what's going on. Lily, yes, the long grass will make hunting much, much easier for the lions. Now, when the wildebeest were here, when there were lots and lots of wildebeest around, because remember, they've migrated away, they've left, and they've gone back to somewhere where there's some better grass for them to eat. But when the wildebeest were here, it was easy for the lions to hunt. But then the wildebeest ate all the grass, and the grass was very, very short, and then it was difficult for the lions to sneak up on their food. Now the grass is long, and the lions absolutely can sneak up on the food that they're trying to catch. But at the same time, grass makes a noise, so it's easier for them to remain hidden, but it's harder for them to sneak up on the animals without them being heard. So the rustle of the grass, the sound of it moving, might actually alert their prey. So lions have to be clever. They have to adapt depending upon what season it is. So whether it's rained a lot, whether the grass is very long, whether the grass is very short, they have to change their hunting techniques. Just like all of the predators out here. Leopards, cheetah as well, because of course for the cheetah, they also like to use the cover of the grass to sneak up on an animal before they chase it. Now today is actually a very hot day in the Mara. There's been none of that afternoon rain we've had. The confusion of having too many options. Susie's wondering what happens what does a male lion do if 2 females come into estrus at the same time. Most of the time, a male lion that has control of a territory will be in a group, in a coalition, in which case the answer to that is pretty simple. He will mate with one lioness, and one of the other males from his coalition will mate with the other. It's not impossible for a male to mate with 2 females at a time. he looks a little bit miserable. I've seen it a few times. He looks a little miserable. He looks a little bit overstressed and a little bit overtired, but it is possible. And what you'll find is that the actions of the one lioness will generally trigger the action of the second. So as soon as the males finish mating with the first, the female immediately approaches him. It does happen. It's rare though. Most of the time a male will go off with one lioness and a member of his coalition will go off with the other. And a lot of the time the males actually end up not quite sustaining that mating period all the way through the female's estrus, in which case another member of the coalition might actually step in. I've also heard interesting tales of male leopards, two male leopards mating with the same female and just taking turns. The animals, they have their own way of sorting out conflicts like that. Okay, we're going to wait for our lions to move out as it gets a little bit cooler, but I hear, and I'm actually quite jealous, I miss the elephants of Djuma. I hear Noelle's been having the most amazing sighting with hers. Let's go back across to her.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, it is good to see some elephants again. We were talking about this morning, where are the elephants? And they've popped up, yay! So this, this young male and this female are having a bit of a tussle. She keeps pushing him away. He keeps wanting to play with her. She just wants to eat. So it is National Tree Week in the United Kingdom. So the tree that they're busy trying to eat is one of the gourd trees. Looks like a magic gourd from what I can see from here. And it's interesting. I don't see elephants eating it that much, but it is flowering at the moment. And the leaves are slightly newer, slightly more fresh. It is an evergreen tree, one of our only truly evergreen trees with leaves all year round. The reason why I say I don't usually see them eating it much is it has a lot of tannins in it. It's extremely high in tannins, so it's not the tastiest. So again, my guess is going to be that they eat it because of the flowers. Then a use for this tree, oh, a little elephant trumpeting in the background. A use for that tree that they're eating would be to find water. I know in the UK that I think it's yew trees that people use to divine water, and here the Sangomas, the traditional healers, will use this tree. I can't do it, but they can. All right. Now back to our elephants. This is fantastic. All right, guys, if we were going to do screenshots, this would be my screenshots. One of them with their trunks entwined and their tusks and the eye up. Look at them. Can we hear this? Elena, you were curious about why elephants have such large gestation periods. So an elephant's gestation period, they're pregnant for 22 months, and it's long like that because they're large mammals and need longer time for their babies to develop in the uterus before they come out. So it means that they have the ability, they still have to take care of their babies when they come out, but it's more fully developed, which is easier for them. Yes, look at them go. This play that we're seeing here is all in good fun. It's an older female and a younger male. It's also cooler, so because it's cooler, they're able to have energy for other things other than just purely survival. And when that female, next time they push back, of course, as I say that, they wander off. You can actually see the veins on the backside of her ear there. We talk a lot about how they flap their ears to cool themselves down or keep them flat to warm themselves up, and that's the vein system that's in the back. I just want to see, they might push back into our view, but if they go behind the bush, kind of like what they're doing now. Let me just come forward a little bit so we can keep watching them. You don't like being picked on, do you? So the female there was really pushing that young male, and he was like, too rough, too rough. Now he's gonna wait a bit. Now he's biding his time. Sometimes when they do this, then they'll walk their bums into each other. He's decided to go at it like this again. Listen, listen, everyone, listen. Did you all hear their tusks hitting each other there? Absolutely fantastic. Then there's a little fork-tailed drongo that's flying in and amongst them, because every time they move, they're kicking up soil, which is kicking up insects. So that fork-tailed drongo is taking advantage of this little wrestling match. Here he comes again. Listen. How very, very, very cool. Now a break, they're going to go around this termite mound, and they might come back in the same direction, or most likely they will probably keep moving around the side of the termite mound there. Here they come. Around the side. Just going to pull forward a little bit more again so we can keep watching them. Interesting. Every time one of them, especially the younger male, gets a little bit tired of wrestling, he'll put something like a tree or a termite mound or a bush in between them so he can have a bit of a break. And he's trying to do it to sort of save his manhood. Gus, you're curious as to whether or not female elephants are larger than males. Gus, in this particular case, there's a young male here with a female that is older than him, so she is larger. But when they reach full adulthood, male elephants are larger than female elephants by a couple of tons. Did you hear the tummy rumble there? So this young male has decided to give up. He wasn't going to win anyway. He's too little. And even though it's just play wrestling, because he's a young male, he does enjoy winning. And the reason why he's wrestling with this older female is that in this small little breeding herd, there are no males for him to wrestle with. He's got no... there's no cohort for him. It was an adult female, and then about a 2-year-old little female, and then this male here who's probably about 6 to 8 years old, and then this other female I would put sort of late teens. And so his small breeding herd, it's a little breeding herd, his family unit, he's the only boy, and so he needs to practice working his muscles to become an adult male. And the only other elephants he can do that with are his older siblings / cousins. This could be the younger sister of the matriarch, it could be his older sister, it could be a cousin, it depends. My guess would be that it's his older sister. But without knowing the herd structure a little bit more, I'm just guessing on their association, as it were. Now, directly in front of us, we can see the matriarch, the adult female, and then somewhere around here is going to be that little 2-year-old we were watching earlier. And just on the right hand side of your screen you can see a kudu bum. Now what's interesting about what they've been feeding on thus far, besides that gori bush that we saw, is a lot of this green grass. It is summertime. They will keep eating bark, they will keep eating leaves, they'll definitely start eating fruit, but they eat a lot of grass this time of year because it's very high in nutrients. A lot of it is fresh growth. Tim, that's a really excellent question. So I don't have as much knowledge of how they actually make that tummy rumble noise. The reason why we call it a tummy rumble is it sounds like that gurgling belly. I have a feeling that it has more to do with sort of the upper chest area, maybe into the throat, but I'm just spitballing there. I don't know for 100%. I don't know if there's anyone out there who has maybe a paper that they want to send me. I know a couple of you really love reading scientific journals. I got the paper on the bristles inside the giraffe's mouth, which I'm busy going through, so thank you very much for that. So if anyone has any ideas, and then I'll triple check with some friends of mine. I used to work with an elephant researcher when I worked up in the Northwest Province. She's since gone back to Europe, but I will give her a shout and see if she has any idea. Tula Ann, I haven't heard from you in a while. I hope you got that photo I sent you of the little lion cub and put it up by your kitty's litter box. So Tula Ann, you're curious, do elephants ever try to climb trees? So Tula Ann, the only thing that I've seen elephants do with trees is if they can't reach something, they'll stand on their legs, putting their front limbs up and stretch their trunk up. And then I've seen them smacking their foreheads against trees to get fruit to fall. And I've watched really big males push over really huge trees to get to the roots and to the fruits on top. But no, I've never seen them climb. Tula Ann, I have seen elephants climb up the sides of mountains in spaces that are even difficult for humans to climb up. I used to work in a place, sweetie, where there was a lot of ridges, and when I would do bushwalks with guests, the pathways we were using up the side of these ridges were made by elephants, so they're very good at climbing mountains. And I know Hannibal used to use elephants to get over the Alps, I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, when he was fighting with his soldiers. And I cannot remember what time frame that was. I'm sure there's someone out there who can remember. There you can see the little one next to the mum. The little 2-year-old. Alright guys, you're stuck with me. Yay! We can do elephant time in Djuma. The Mara has been something with the internet. Look, it's Africa. Things happen. The internet's gone in the Mara for now. And Ralph is having some gremlins attack his vehicle. So I'm very happy to sit here with these elephants for as long as you all are happy to sit here with these elephants. So just let us know. For anyone that's just joining, don't forget we are live, we are interactive. Hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, or you can follow us on the YouTube chat. Now, I just want to... Actually, you know what? I was going to reposition, but I think let's just wait here. That female that's there by what looks like a white berry bush, and her youngster might be coming out from behind there shortly. It looks as if she's found some very beautiful green grass just under there. So the reason why I was thinking of repositioning is it's always better to see a face than a bum. But we have bum and face right now, so there you can see all aspects of the elephant. Can we hear all the bird song in the background as well as them eating? A little bit, maybe. Fantastic. Alright, some more facts about elephants. So many of you watch us religiously every day, but I do know that there's some people who only can have the chance to tune in from time to time. So let's do some basics with elephants. That female that we're looking at now, you can see her forehead has a very square edge to it, like the edge of a table. That's one of the ways that we sex elephants when they're adults. When they're busy going through puberty, it can sometimes be hard because, as we know, just like with humans, when you go through puberty, your ability to exhibit your characteristics of male or female are sometimes impaired by your hormones going on and off. So with adult female elephants, they get that very square forehead, and males will have a very rounded forehead. That's one way to tell. The other way to tell is to look between the legs. So I'm going to now reposition, because everybody's wandering off, and see if I can show you the differences between the legs. So you won't see testicles with elephants. The testicles sit inside the body. What you're going to see is just a sheath. And then with the females, madam, are you going to let me come forward a wee bit? Slightly. I'm just going to let her finish eating, cross over the road, and then we will reposition a little bit. So we'll play hide and seek with this older female here. You'll get a sheath with the males, and then the females will have sort of a flap that hangs down in the back, but I'll show you now when we have a chance. And that's the other way. It can sometimes be hard to tell if you're not used to it, so the forehead works really well. Cotton Candy, you're curious about their tail, and if it means that when it's moving like a wag, if it means they're happy. So they're not like a dog. That tail movement has more to do with sort of flies and insects that would be around other than with happy. But what you will see with a tail, when it's loose like that, it means that they are not stressed out. If the tail is sticking sort of halfway out and very stiff, they're not in a good mood. When it's down and relaxed like that, they're in a good mood. So it's not a puppy wagging its tail, but you can tell mood a bit from that feature, indeed. Got our little, and we can see one of the trunks there. Oh, Ralph's gremlins have gone away. Let's head over to him and see what he has to show us, and I will see about a better view on these elephants.
Hi folks, I'm just on my way to have a look at Chitwa Dam, but on my way there I just want to show you a little tree that we drive past very often, and a lot of people don't actually stop to have a look at it. Now I'm going to try and keep you in frame here. Now the one I'm actually looking for is not the one that I've come out over here to. So let's just have a look. These trees, right, these are correct. Okay, now I just wanted to show you the leaf on that. I don't know if Seb can come in nice and close. You see how it starts to point nicely down towards the end. These are very indicative of your red bush willow. Now, as we're driving along both sides of the road here, it's quite prominent of this area, and this wood is extremely hard. It's a very hard wood. It's one of the hardest woods that we get in the field. The only one harder than that is the red bush, the zebra wood. So the zebra wood, however, only grows in small little bushes. The red bush willow being the hardest wood that we can find. People often make knopkieries out of it. That's a knopkierie, if you've never seen one. It's like a ball with a stick on it. So that can be a nice walking stick, or a nice, the people up in the northwestern part of Namibia, they actually use it as a defensive weapon. For instance, if they get attacked by a leopard or lion. So it's quite a useful tree, and the people would also use it to make some fence posts, but an extremely hard wood. So I'm just going to plug back in here, and like the sickle bush and the sickle bush and some of the acacias, that it can be one of your bush encroachers. So, and we're seeing it on both sides of the road here. Your Combretum apiculatum, it's got a 4-leaf seed pod like this, and it's very indicative of sandy soils, which, as you can see along the road here, sandy soils coming from mostly granite base rock. So just something interesting. As we are on our way to Chitwa Dam, I thought I'd just point out a little bit of the Combretum apiculatum, or the red bush willow. And it's called the red bush willow because the seeds are rather red, but also the inner wood, which is very hard, is a very dark, lovely red color. So that's why it has got that lovely name, the red bush willow. So we're going to continue along down the road here. I do want to go and follow up on that hyena, the hippo, the hippo that was in the water, because we did spot mommy with a little baby, but mommy had quite a lot of wounds on her back. Now we're not sure if that was through fighting with the other hippos, which was quite possible. Maybe she was defending the youngster, or if it was predator related. It's probably more likely that she was defending a little youngster in the waterhole per se, but we just want to go and have a look there and see if anything has changed with mommy there. But along the way, always will stop if we find something. For instance, the lovely leopards. We're still not picking up on them just yet. I've seen absolutely no sign of them. They're really trying to hide away from us. So we're looking for their tracks and signs, and if we hear any alarm calling, we will follow up on it immediately. You can see this lovely soil that we've got as we go down the road. Very white, very it's coming, you know, it's a lot of gravelly soil, and that's coming from your granite base. So it's quite acidic, and that would then obviously also affect the kind of plants that would grow here. If it was a darker soil, much more fine, generally coming from your basaltic rocks, which is more clayey in its soil structure, so that would then definitely be making more of your smaller leaf trees, like your acacias. Your acacias like to grow in more clayey soils, whereas you're getting larger leaf trees growing in your sandy soils, which is more aerated, and the water also goes through it a lot quicker. So, but there's also less nutrients in sandy soils. So clay soils, nice and high in nutrients. They're a lot darker, and the soil is a lot finer as well. This is very gravelly soil, quite thick particles, and a very light color to it too. This all affects the kind of ecology, and the plants that will grow there will then affect what kind of animals you'll get in the area too. What birds, what mammals, etc. So it's all interdependent on the soils firstly, how that is going to affect the plants, and the plants then will affect the animals. So that's a lovely bit of interaction there, and ecology, how things actually all fit together. Right. So and the reason why they've got quite a bit bigger leaves when you've got sandy soil, because it takes a lot more hypertension, I think is the word, for the trees to be able to draw up the water and the nutrients in this more aerated soils. That allows the leaves is pulling, it's got more of a suction, whereas when the trees are growing in clayey soils, it's not that necessary. So you get a lot more fine leaf trees in clay soils, but very high in nutrients, and it also does affect then Derek the Pope asking a question: what tree is considered bad luck? I'm trying to rack my brain to think which one is bad luck per se. I know that the leadwood is not considered to be bad luck, but you would not stand underneath the leadwood if there is a storm, because it's believed that you would have a very high chance of being struck by lightning. Now that's what the locals believe, but I think it might be to do with the density of the tree or the wood itself. Whereas if you're in a storm, the locals believe that you should stand under a buffalo thorn, which is then not going to allow you to be struck by lightning. So I'm still trying to think of a tree that is bad luck, but I can't think of one. I know that the sickle bush we consider to be the pharmacy of the bush, because it's got a whole host of different uses medicinally, but in terms of luck, I'm not quite sure. I know that the marula and the false marula more so in particular, that the locals actually believe that, you know, with the false marula and the marula, they do have very distinctive male and female plants. And when a lady is pregnant in the local community, if she's looking to have either a boy or a girl, she will take a branch of either the male or female plant, and she will put that under her pillow, and that will then, they believe, have the baby chosen for her in terms of the sex. So that's something quite interesting. But the bad luck, I'm not quite remembering anything that I could believe, except for the leadwood being around the storm and the lightning. But if I do think of something, I will let you know. Philip, which plant is indicative of a high water table? Well, I'm thinking now once again. You guys are putting through good questions on botany here. I do know that a lot of trees would grow next to a riverine vegetation and would indicate water being in that area, such as your jackalberries, your tambuotis, what else? Even the leadwoods. So if you're walking through the bush and you start to spot those trees, it's definitely an indication of them being next to or in an area where there is a lot of water, in a drainage line, next to a drainage line, or in a riverine area. But for it to actually indicate a high water table is a very good question. I'm not quite sure of the answer, but I don't know if that sort of answers your question. You know, also like in areas of Namibia, for instance, you can actually spot it a mile away where you've got these water or ephemeral rivers. You can see those false acacias, the Fadherbia albida, or the Anna boom, the Anna tree, and a lot of the acacias, which are totally indicative. You can actually see where the drainage lines occur, even without there being a real depression that you can see. You can see where the trees are that indicate where the water line or the water table is sitting. But I think it would more, so those are the plants that indicate those zones, and then I think you would actually look at the conditions of those plants to see whether the water is dropping or rising, because they would still be tapping into it. And I know that some, like the camel thorn acacia, well, they're not acacia anymore, are they? They're Virchilia, I think, because the acacia are now been assigned to the wattles of the Australian environment. So we're now talking about Virchilia, which is the new name. That's the camel thorn. Their roots can actually go down up to about 100 meters to tap into the groundwater. So I'm going to move down here towards Chitwa Dam, but in the meantime, let's cross over to Noelle with her elephants once more.
Alright, we are still with our elephants. Now I've been waiting for the little male to come out so I can show you the difference between male and female body parts for sexing them. But unfortunately he's hiding in the bush, so we're watching this big female. I want you to notice the bottom end of her trunk when she picks up the food. She's missing part of it. So Vildi and I were chatting earlier and he was reminding me that there's an elephant, what did you call it, Vildi? Short trunk? Half trunk. But this is not her, as Vildi is saying, but just the bottom part is gone. She's still able to utilize the trunk and pull up grass, but she doesn't have the two little fingers at the end. It's sort of, I'm not quite sure, maybe it got mowed on by hyenas possibly when she was little. It could possibly be something like a crocodile, but from what I've seen with crocodiles, it's usually a bit longer. Now, when she moves forward just a bit now, behind her back legs there, I just want to have a look. I want you to just notice how straight down, it's going to be a little, we'll see if she comes in, how straight down her vulva area is, and that's how you would tell, as opposed to an L shape that a male will have. But it's a little bit difficult from this angle, so I don't know if we're going to be able to carry on with that side of the conversation. So everybody, I think we've spent some really good time with our Ellies, and I'm thinking what we're going to possibly do now is go and have a look. It's cooled down, well, it's been cold all afternoon, but it's cooled down a little bit more, and see if we can possibly pick up Tundi. We are in the area that she does like to move in. We are in the area where we had tracks yesterday, so I'm hoping she comes out. Just want to check Twin Dams quickly, just in case any of the leopards that are over on Little Gowrie. I was talking with one of the guys from Cheetah Plains, and not only is Shadow over on Little Little Gowrie like we know about with her kill from this morning, but I would assume, I don't know for certain, I would assume that her youngster is over there, and possibly Hassana, possibly Tumba, because when I asked this guide, he said everybody, all the leopards are over on, over on Little Gowrie, so I have a feeling that they're having a little block party without us, but we'll double check on that boundary line and then carry on looking for Tandi. So we can say goodbye to our Ellies. Thank you so much, Ellies. Rolf has managed to make it to Chitwa Dam, so I think let's go to him while I am busy looking for our spotted felines. Hello, madam. Yes, I'm leaving you.